Hello, this is John from caveofprogramming.com, and in this tutorial we're going to look at action bars in Android. So I've created a new project here with the default settings, and I made sure that this project had a minimum SDK version of 11, which is Android 3, because action bars were actually introduced in Android 3. And the action bar is this thing across the top here, this bar across the top, which usually has an icon and a title, and by default it has a menu here. And if I just touch that menu, this is assuming that you're running a device which is Android 3 or greater, of course. And then if I touch this menu here, we're just going to get this settings item popping up. We're going to look at responding to menu item selections in the next tutorial, but here I just want to show you how to configure and create these menus in your action bar, and I want to tell you, give you a couple of things you can do with action bars. So one thing you can do is, if you go to your main activity in the onCreate method here, you can say action bar equals get action bar, so you can retrieve a reference to the action bar, and you can then do stuff like, if you want, you can hide it altogether, make it invisible, and you can have your application dynamically hide or show the action bar completely during its operation. Although when you show it or hide it, then your layout is going to be kind of recreated. So you kind of have to be aware of that. But basically, you can hide or show the action bar just as you feel, just as you want to. You can also, this action bar here, you'll see it's got a title and an icon, and you can hide or show those separately as well. And if you want to get rid of the icon, you can say bar.set display home home enabled. Here we go, and I could say false, and that will get rid of that icon. And if I say bar.set display title, show title enabled, set that to false, we won't have a title either. So let's just run that and have a look. And sometimes this can be good, because sometimes, depending on what you're showing in your activity, sometimes I find it's just really ugly to have an icon and a title there. You don't always want it, so it's good to be able to get rid of them. Okay, here we go. So the application's running, and now you can see we've got rid of the icon and the title. Let's have a look at this menu here, which is the really interesting bit. And everything I'm about to say would certainly apply if you did have an icon and title as well. I just wanted to show you how you could get rid of that if you want to. So by default, if I look at this, I've just got a kind of settings menu here, and nothing actually really happens. But I could, as we'll see in the next tutorial, I could respond to the user clicking on that settings thing, and I could make something happen in response to that. You can configure this menu quite easily yourself. Where it actually is configured is if you look at this onCreate options menu, and prior to Android 3, this would have created a menu that appears at the bottom of your screen. But for Android 3 and greater, at least if you have the default theme set, it produces the action bar at the top. So if you look at this, we're using a resource r.menu activity underscore main, and so if we go to resource res menu activity main.xml, this is the menu that's producing that settings pop-up when you touch this. So let's have a look at that. Here it is. And if I look at the raw XML view, it looks like this. It's just got one item in it, and that item has the title. Well, we don't know the title from looking at this, but we can see that it's using a string resource called menu settings. So if we go to values, strings.xml, and we look at menu settings, we see that it's got the text settings on it, and that's where that's coming from. So it's a little bit convoluted, but once you understand this, how it works with the strings.xml and the activity main XML or the menu XML, then it is pretty straightforward. Now we can create menus and submenus in all kinds of ways with this action bar, and I'm not going to show you everything that can be done, but I just want to show you a few highlights. So if you go to this activity main.xml under menu here, it's important to get the right one. You want the actual menu that has this item in it. And we go to layout. So I'm looking at the kind of Android, the Eclipse sort of GUI version of this menu, rather than trying to work with it myself in the XML. We can, if you select this top level thing here, well, we can remove it actually. We could get rid of it altogether, and but if you click add, you see you can add a submenu to it as well, and this submenu would then appear when you go to that settings menu. Let's actually just remove it for the moment. So I'll click remove, and then if we save that and we look at the raw XML view, you can see that the item's gone. We go back to layout. Let's start building up a menu from scratch. So if I click add now, and in fact, I've got a choice here between item and group. And groups are groups of items which you can, if you want to, simultaneously enable or disable, show or hide, or check or uncheck all together. But one use of a group is to create a bunch of top level items that, if you want, you could make appear in your action bar by default. So if you've got a bunch of actions that you want to always be immediately available to your user, kind of staring them right there in the face, then providing there's room for them, you can put them all up here, visible all the time on the action bar. And let's have a look at that. And to do that, to create a bunch of top level items, it seems we need to put them in a group. It seems that you have to do that, because if I add an item here, let's say, now if I click add again with that item selected, I can only add a submenu. And what I want to show you here is having a row of items on the top. So let's remove that and click add, and I'll add this group even though I don't need a group. And then to that group I'll add a couple of items. So I select the group and I click add, and let's have one item here, and select the group and click add again, and a second item. And I can give these items, of course, IDs, but I'll leave these at the default ID for the moment. I could change this from item 1 to something else, and you can see an icon and a title and all that kind of thing. There's quite a lot of stuff here, but I'll just give this a title, and I'll call it something like, let's just call it Go. Very ambiguous, because I don't know what this is supposed to do. It's just an example. And I'll go to item 2, and let's call this something like edit. Let's call it edit. Why not? So just for an example. So now we've got two items called Go and Edit. And we can, if we look down here, we've got a property show as action. And if you show something as an action, it means that it appears here on the action bar, where currently we've only got these 3 dots. So if I select, let's say item 1, go to show as action and go to select, then I can say that I want it never to appear as a kind of separate action, like visible on the action bar by itself by default. Or I can make it appear up there if there's room, or I can always have it there, and I can have it with text or not. So let's select always, so that it's always going to be there, and I'll do the same for item 2, and you'll see what effect having it always there has. And if you're in doubt about whether there's enough room for it, because you've got a title on there, let's say, then of course you're going to have to be careful and perhaps select if room. So I'll save this and click run and launch it on my phone. And the other thing that I'm going to show you in this tutorial is just the effect of adding a submenu to one of these items. And next time we are going to look at handling making things happen when the user clicks one of these items. Oh, I was going to pause the recording, but it looks like it's going pretty fast. So let's take a look. I can see it on my phone, and let's go to the screencast. Here we are. So now we've got these action items at the top, Go and Edit, and they don't do anything because I'm not making anything happen in response to them. But one thing I want to show you here is how you can also have a submenu. So let's go to item 2, which is I've called edit, and of course those could be really nice icons as well. They don't have to be text. I could create a really nice little icon for them, and I'll select edit and click add, and now we've got the option to add a submenu. So I could add a submenu, and I click add again, and let's just have a couple of items. So if you've got a submenu, you don't need to put your items in a group. You just need to put them in a group for a submenu if you want to be able to show or hide them all together, or check them all together or something, and then I think you would need a group. But if you've got a submenu, you can just add items straight into it. So we'll have item 3 here. I'll just leave this ID, I think. In fact, let's maybe change this to this is the, what is it? It's the edit menu. So I could call this edit contact or something like that. Maybe let's change this to edit contact, and change the title here to contact, and save that. And then I'll add another item into the submenu. Click add another item, so parallel with the first here in this submenu. And here, so the first one was edit contact, and this could be edit oh god knows, edit photo or something. I'm really running out of ideas that are plausible. But I'll change it to edit photo, and let's make the title photo, and then I'll show you how this looks, and you'll see it's pretty simple. And just if you just play around with this, you'll get the hang of it really quickly, and you can basically accomplish whatever you need to. So I'm not sure if that's actually running, and one thing I find is sometimes this, I don't know if it's just today, it seems not to be running. But I'm just gonna, when I click run, let's just go to project clean, and because if I delete all the class files that have been generated, then that's going to force it, as long as project build automatically is ticked, then it will regenerate them. And now when I click run, we should damn well see something happening. There we go, that's better. Okay, so I'll pause the recording and come back in just a second. Okay, so here we go, and hopefully I'm recording this. Yeah, I think I am. Good. So now we've got a go, and we've still got those go and edit items, and the go items still as it is before. But if I click edit, now this submenu comes up with contact and photo, and I can take action on those. And of course, again, I could have a submenu in the submenu if I wanted. I'm going to leave it there for this tutorial, because I think that's all the most important stuff covered, really. And in the next tutorial, we're going to look at making stuff happen when one of those items is selected. So until next time, happy coding.